Looks like I am live. I'm so excited to bring on a colleague of mine that I really respect, Erika Miley, and she's a sex therapist, intimacy and relationship therapist. She's also an expert on ADHD and women's health. And you know what? We are going to integrate this all together. So I'm going to bring her on.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for joining me today.
I'm real excited because you and I do a lot of nerding out together, and so now we just get to have an audience while we do that.
Why the heck aren't people talking more about women, adult women, and ADHD and how it impacts their relationships, sex lives, their perfectionism, hormones, the whole thing?
Just today, I got another email from a client, and I won't go too far into it, so I make sure that they're protected. But this is a theme that comes up again and again, where they're emailing me, even though I have literally done my dissertation on ADHD women and their sexual functioning. And they're telling me that their psychiatrist or their person who's their prescriber is dubious about the ADHD diagnosis.
Right, because it's not really diagnosed in women as much. There's a misconception around that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's really sadly not a lot of research. Not enough research is even done really looking at the impact of ADHD on different aspects of their life. So we got to get more research, but we do know certain things. We know some things about how it impacts women.
Yes,
Based clients have told us, right?
absolutely. I'm curious. I One of the things that we're going to be doing, we're going to be offering, so everybody out there who's listening, we're going to be offering a virtual retreat. So we want you to be able to not only just understand ADHD as a person with a vulva, a woman, we want you to be able to have something to take away so that you can walk away more rested, feel less, because a lot of times I feel like, just like the example I gave before, you can feel crazy. You can feel crazy about all of the things that are happening in your mind until
Mhm.
then you start to understand, like, oh, wait, there are other women out here who have ADHD. Their experience is similar to mine. And there are ways that we can
Right.
improve our lives, improve our sexual lives, and improve our relationship with our bodies. And that's why you and I are partnering together.
Right. So, yeah, that's a good point. So, today we're going to talk a little bit about these topics, but we're doing a much more in depth dive, a retreat, a 90-minute retreat of sorts on October 13th. October
Mm-hmm.
13th, noon Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. And then that'll give even more information for people just on ways to cope, emotional regulation, bringing in a somatic approach. But we want to definitely talk about some of the important factors today. I know we talked, Erika, about just, some of the things we've heard from our female clients that
Mm-hmm.
have ADHD. Like, what are some of the things that you'd say that you have heard, the complaints or what the presenting problems that people come to you with?
They often come to me first with sometimes it's TikTok diagnosis. They've fallen into neurodivergent TikTok in some way that they're like, I need to know more. Which, if you fall into anything on any kind of social media and you start seeing patterns and you start relating to things, those of us who are providers, we want to hear about that. We want to know about it. It may not be absolutely correct, but it helps us understand how you feel, what you are seeing, and the patterns that you feel really like are part of your life and something you've dealt with for a really long time.
Yeah.
Now, the things that I hear a lot are, I don't understand why I don't have any desire, or I'm not interested in any kind of sexual activity. I'm not interested in anything, and my partner wants me to be interested, or I have enjoyed sex in the past and I'm not enjoying it now. And we start getting to the bottom of it, and they start talking about, I really struggle to focus during sex. I really struggle to stay with, even if it's something that I like or I find pleasurable. I actually have a hard time not making the list in my head. I have a hard time, even though I find my partner attractive, I have a hard time not being distracted by the room being dirty, or
Yeah.
maybe even it's synced up with the symptoms that are around their menstrual cycles. That is absolutely a big part of some of the work that we do, is this understanding of like, oh, these symptoms are actually worse throughout that 28 days ish in some parts than others. What about you? I know you've worked with folks with ADHD before too.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that it starts off with a lot of presenting complaints around just feeling irritable, feeling like it's just hard to be present, really feeling fatigue and exhaustion, and just also arguments with their partner, because maybe arguments over being able to sort of manage things in the household, or because there's the outbursts, and all of that impacts communication as well as, just intimacy. But yeah, and also there can be people that struggle with just, they're more hypersensitive in the bedroom. So whether it be lighting or smells or sound. So really just helping them understand like the importance of paying attention to like textures and pace and lighting, and that being hypersensitive is something that can be managed. It's just
Absolutely.
it.
That sensory thing. I think for so many of my clients, women and the fellow LGBTQ plus alphabet mafia folk out there, the sensory part is something that they come back to again and again. And I think you're nailing it on that, like being able to consider that when you are trying to be intimate with any kind of partner, whether it's a long-term partner or a short-term partner. We've been told, like culturally, we have been conditioned to try to ignore as much of our own discomfort as we possibly can, or not speak up about it, or my partner likes this, or there's this pattern. I'm sure you've seen this with your clients too. Like there's this pattern to any kind of like sexual interaction that they struggle to break free of. I mean, would you say that too?
That there's a dynamic. It just cut out.
Don't we love technology? Like there's this pattern, like we have to do sex this way.
Yeah. Oh, right. And feeling extra pressure, which I think is true
bored?
for pretty much everybody. Or yeah, boredom. Boredom. I actually get bored in the bedroom quicker than men, whether there's ADHD involved or not. So there's definitely like importance of novelty and kind of keeping like dopamine, the like excitement centers of the brain going. And so yeah, mixing it up, variety, whether it be time of day, location, and different positions. So just really, yeah, I think having a partner that's really open-minded to that, and actually having the person with ADHD be really open-minded and accepting of that variety is okay. That's a good thing.
So the one of the first things we're actually going to talk about is you're going to hear the voices of other people like you from the research that I've done on women with ADHD and their sexual functioning. I have 1,100 responses that are all of quotes that are directly from women in their own experience. So one, you're going to feel less alone. You're going to hear directly from like people that are struggling with some of the same things you are. And then the next thing is we're going to deconstruct a lot of myths. I mean, Rachel, what do you think is probably one of the biggest myths about ADHD? I'm curious.
Well, that it's just something little kids deal with in the classroom. It's not something adults or that it's more about a male. It's a problem that males deal with versus
right. You just grow out of it. Wasn't that like the prevailing understanding through the 80s and 90s, like an entire generation of people?
When in fact, actually, you get older and things like hormones and perimenopause and menopause actually can like make it worse. Or people who didn't have ADHD have ADHD symptoms during menopause or perimenopause.
That perimenopause shit is no joke. The hot flashes at night that have begun for this perimenopausal ADHD woman, like it is no joke, and nobody prepared me.
So continue. Yeah, so you said looking at a few of deconstructing some of the myths, also how it impacts relationships. Started to talk about a bit.
Absolutely. Like something that many of my clients start to have to learn about is the rejection sensitivity. And or the other thing that you'll hear it called on the internet or in some of the research that has been happening is rejection sensitivity dysphoria. So it is this essentially like almost like glasses you're wearing as you are looking at the world, preparing yourself all of the time for rejection. And a lot of that has to do with not only just ADHD symptoms as they stand, but especially if you've gone undiagnosed for a very, very long time and not had appropriate, helpful guidelines treatment to help you improve your life and reduce the symptoms of ADHD. Now we can't cure it, but we can reduce those symptoms.
And especially the longer somebody's gone without diagnosis and treatment, the more likely that they have some overlap in another mental health problem, anxiety or depression being the most common.
Yes.
It's grown out of, maybe compensating for this untreated, issue, behavioral issue. Maybe the way they were treated at school or at home and led them to feel like less than and really low self-worth. So a lot of that can happen with time too, if it's not diagnosed and treated.
Educational trauma is no joke. Like the things that many kids who grew up into adults who needed extra help, not only just because of ADHD, there's often some other type of disability, and that's hard. It's hard, especially if you've used perfectionism to try to cope with ADHD, or you're a person who's gifted and had ADHD. There's another myth that you can't be gifted and have ADHD. That myth pisses me off. I don't know about you.
Right. That it's like you're somehow like you're not able to ever focus, and so therefore how can you like really be kind of productive or get things done or really put your gifts to use?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the other thing is how each of the symptoms impact a relationship that can end up. The people who have ADHD, it is very often, it doesn't matter gender identity, there can be a parent-child dynamic that ends up happening because one person may start to take over for the other person, and that creates resentment in a lot of ways. So we'll definitely talk a lot about that in the retreat. We're going to talk about orgasm.
How that can be impacted. So both relationship in and out of the bedroom, right? Relationships also we're going to discuss like the relationship with food and eating disorders and how food as a way to try to regulate and kind of cope or soothe. And so how to really help. We actually have I really like some of the tools we have to offer people on helping them cope with their relationship with food. The halt, recognizing the halt, and also called the force of kind of emotional eating or trying to cope with food. So that's a big one. I know so many people have kind of dysregulated eating, and particularly people with ADHD.
Or struggling to, the thing I think I find with so many of my folks, and you and I have talked about this before, the not being able to recognize whether you're overstimulated or understimulated, and using food or other things. Like there can be a lot of things we'll use to stim, and it's usually trying to cope with one of those two things, which is overstimulation or understimulation. And as you start to get to know how your brain operates, it gets easier to identify, okay, maybe I'm a bit overstimulated. I need to be able to get through this some other way rather than using, M&Ms, which like I just did.
Chocolate.
That's right.
So we're also going to talk about perfectionism. I know we mentioned that a little bit, but how just that can be a way that people might employ that to try to control their symptoms, but then it can actually make things worse. And yes. A lot of exhaustion. So for the perfectionists out there, then this would be a really good workshop and retreat for you as well. I'm a recovering perfectionist, recovering type A. So it slips in now and then, but otherwise
Same.
I kind of going to the other end of the spectrum, like being
Absolutely.
like, not going to bother.
Which has I am the same. You and I share this, and so many of the women that I have worked with across their lifespan, that has been one of the reasons, or where their anxiety began was this perfectionism that was essentially the mask for ADHD. So we'll dive as deep as we can in our virtual retreat workshop so you can learn about yourself and learn some skills to be able to cope with it. So we're going to talk about hormones too. We're going to talk about this life cycle, how your development doesn't stop with just puberty, because most of us got really garbage health class. Let's be real, especially in the United States anyway.
And I think what's important too about looking at it across the life cycle, it's going to be a really good retreat that we'll do then even just people's partners. So even if you don't, but your partner does, and depending on, you know, where they are in their life cycle and reproductive cycle, it's really helpful, I think, for them as partners just to learn how to help and manage, because we're going to be giving a lot of different just tools for emotional regulation and also physical tools, mind-body tools. So kind of going beyond mindfulness to actual, what I love to call bodyfulness, but other somatic methods, so that we can really have to bring in the body and the nervous system into this whole thing too. And given what we know about exercise, and that's another thing to talk about, is just some of the different ways in which exercise and food and diet can really be crucial in managing symptoms of ADHD.
Absolutely. And what we can see from a lot of the current research is the role of the body in the treatment of ADHD can improve if you opt for medication. It can improve the effectiveness of medication. If you opt to add other types of like nutritional supplementation, it can absolutely help with the side effects of medication. So we're going to talk about that. Then we're also we'll probably finish with these emotional regulation tools, and specifically, like, we promise, hand to the universe, we will give you sex tools, because I think it's really, really important that we tackle sex and how you experience it, especially how you experience pleasure on your own or with anybody else.
Oh yeah, pleasure to the people. You know, I love that saying. Well,
yes,
so
you do.
The link quite yet to sign up, but we will have that soon, shortly, and within a few days. Put a link in each of our bios for people to sign up for the October 13th 90-minute course and retreat. That's really going to go into like all the different ways to heal and treat some of these different aspects and how it impacts women with ADHD. Right?
Yes. So join us. We'll make sure that we have a little video so that you all know what's coming, where to go, how to purchase it. All of the things will be there in the link in our bios. Stay tuned for that. We'll
live. We'll do it live, 90 minutes at noon Central Time on the 13th, but then we'll have a recorded version that people can later.
Yes. So if you can't make it live.
Well, we probably already used up people's attention spans with this 20 minutes here. So good to see you, Erika. Look forward to this collaboration with you.
Good to see you.
And
me too.
Join us. Everybody.
Yes. Join us. Follow each of us. You can, I know you can follow me on Instagram, Erika Miley Therapy. Rachel, obviously, if you are seeing this, Dr. Rachel Allyn on Instagram. You can also follow me on TikTok. That's where I do a lot of stuff, especially sex therapist reaction stuff. I know Rachel likes to laugh at me doing that stuff, but I can't help it. I like the clock app. I can't help it.
Got it. All right, Erika, thank you so much. And I can't wait to do this on the October. Have a good day.
Have a good day, you too. Bye, everybody.